Hello dear students, I Kamal Sharma welcome you to this wonderful platform of Physics Wala. Today we are going to be starting another chapter of Term 1 Chemistry syllabus, which is haloalkanes and haloarenes, halogenated hydrocarbons. Those hydrocarbons in which one or more than one hydrogen are replaced by an halogen atom. Halogen atom means group 17 elements: fluorine, chlorine, bromine and iodine. So the key concept that we are going to covering today will be classification of these compounds, classification of halogenated hydrocarbons. Second, the nomenclature, the naming system for halogenated hydrocarbon that we have already studied in general in IUPAC nomenclature, a little bit detail here. Then method of preparation, how we can prepare these type of compounds, their physical and chemical properties, and some of the very commercially imported polyhalogenated compounds. This is the basic structure of this chapter. Now let's start the chapter without wasting any time. So the first thing is that what is a halogenated hydrocarbon? What do we mean by halogenated hydrocarbon? So if we have a hydrogen, if we have a carbon atom which have a hydrogen atom attached, and one or more hydrogen atom are replaced by another halogen atom, then such compounds are called as halogenated hydrocarbons, which can be classified further into a different category of compound. For example, first let's check some example. In methane we have replaced one hydrogen with chlorine atom. In ethane we have replaced one hydrogen with bromine atom. In ethane we can replace two hydrogen with, let's say, one with iodine and another with fluorine atom. So if one or more hydrogen are being replaced by halogen atom, such compounds are going to be discussed in this lecture. So now the question arises, how can we classify such compound? Now this is a very general classification. We can apply this type of classification to any functional group family. The first classification is on the basis of number of halogens. On the basis of number of halogens, that how many halogens are present or how many hydrogens are being replaced. So on that basis we have classification as monohalogenated hydrocarbons. Monohalogenated, as the name suggests, the hydrocarbon having only one halogen atom. The hydrocarbons having only one halogen atoms. The another one is mono. After mono we have dihalogenated hydrocarbons. Those having two halogen atom. Those having two halogen atoms. The two halogen atom can be same atom or can be different atom as well. But if a hydrocarbon has two halogen atom attached to it, it can be categorized into dihalogenated hydrocarbon. The third one is trihalogenated hydrocarbon, and we can keep on going like this: tetrahalogenated, pentahalogenated and so on. So in order to give less stress, we categorize further as polyhalogenated. Polyhalogenated. Poly means many. So any hydrocarbon which have more than one halogen atom, can be categorized. That means dihalogenated, tri, all of these halogenated compound can be categorized into polyhalogenated hydrocarbon. So tri means having three halogen atoms, and poly means having more than one halogen atom. Having more than one halogen atom. Let us discuss some of the example of these category. So the compound of this type: one Cl atom, one bromine atom on an alkene chain, Br and iodine atom, I am drawing the bond line structure of all these compound. Br and Br. Fluorine and fluorine. Br, fluorine, chlorine, iodine, again Br, bromine. So these are the some hydrocarbon which have halogen group, and if we categorize them, then this first one will be monohalogenated because it is having only single halogen atom. The second one will also be a monohalogenated. The third one will be dihalogenated because it has two halogen atom, iodine and bromine. The next one will be again dihalogenated because it has two halogen atom. The next one will be dihalogenated, and this last one can be categorized as polyhalogenated because it has many halogen atom. That's why polyhalogenated hydrocarbon. Now one more thing that we have to study here, that dihalogenated are also categorized into further categories. Some of the dihalogenated hydrocarbon are specially named. For example, this category, in which a dihalogenated hydrocarbon is having two halogen atom, two identical halogen atom, two identical halogen atom on same carbon, two identical halogen atom on same carbon atom. So if we say one single position is occupied by two halogen atoms which are identical, then such hydrocarbon are called as geminal dihalide. Geminal dihalide. So this is a classification or further categorization of dihalogenated hydrocarbon. Similarly, if we have two halogen atoms, a hydrocarbon having two halogen atom, two identical halogen atom on neighboring position, two halogen atom on neighboring position. Then such dihalogenated compounds are called as vicinal dihalide. Vicinal dihalide. So dihalogenated can also be of type geminal or vicinal. If it belongs to none of these categories, geminal and vicinal, then simply we will call it dihalogenated hydrocarbon. Similarly, the trihalogenated hydrocarbon of this type, CHX3, when methane has three identical halogen atom, then trihalogenated compound of such type are called as haloform. So if there is CHF3, it will be fluoroform. CHCl3, it will be chloroform. CHBr3, it will be bromoform, and CHI3, it will be iodoform. So these are some specific categorization or naming to certain polyhalogenated hydrocarbon. For example, in this trihalogenated and dihalogenated, we have certain specific name. Now the next classification can be on the basis of degree of carbon to which halogen is attached. So on the basis of degree of carbon, we can only have three possibility, that halogen is attached to 1 degree carbon. Such halides are called as primary halide. Primary halides in which halogen is attached to 1 degree carbon atom. Halogen can be attached to 2 degree carbon atom. Such halides can be called as secondary halides. Halogen can be attached to a 3 degree carbon, and such halides will be called as tertiary halides. Tertiary halides. Halogen cannot be attached to a 4 degree carbon because 4 degree carbon has all of its valency satisfied. So no functional group can be attached to a 4 degree carbon unless until it contains a carbon atom. So halogen cannot be of quaternary type. So on the basis of degree of carbon, we have three type of halide: primary, secondary, and tertiary halide. We can see some example here as well. CH3, CH2, Br, CH3, CH, CH3, Cl, CH3, C, CH2, CH3, CH3, I. Now in this scenario, if we see, this is a 1 degree carbon because it has only one carbon directly attached. This is a 2 degree carbon because it has two carbon directly attached to it. And this is a 3 degree carbon. So this first one is a primary halide. The second one is a secondary halide. And the third one is a tertiary halide. So on the basis of degree of carbon, we can also classify the halogenated compounds. Now the third and most important classification is on the basis of hybridization of carbon, because this classification will categorize the compound into similar properties. So this is the most useful classification for our studies on the basis of hybridization of carbon. We have 5 different categories in this section. If the halogen is attached to an sp3 carbon, then in this case we have 3 subcategories. The first one is halogen is attached to a carbon which is sp3, and this sp3 carbon is also attached to an sp3 carbon. That means up to second position we are not having any conjugation, any pi bond, any triple bond or double bond. So such halides are called as alkyl halides, or IUPAC naming haloalkanes. So if you see the name of chapter, haloalkanes and haloarenes, so this is the first category of chapter, haloalkanes. The second category is the carbon to which halogen is attached is sp3, but the carbon neighboring to that is sp2. That means the position neighbor to double bond position. The position neighbor to double bond position, and such position are called as allylic position. So such halides are called as allyl halides, allylic or allyl halides. And the third subcategory is the carbon is sp3, but the neighbor carbon is of benzene. That means this is a sp2 aromatic carbon. The neighbor carbon is of benzene. This is a sp2 aromatic carbon, and such halides are called as benzyl halide. This position is called as benzyl. So such halides will be benzyl halides. So we have 3 classification on the basis of sp3 carbon: alkyl, allyl and benzyl. And all of these 3 categories belongs to same or similar chemical properties. Now the second category is if halogen atom is directly attached to an sp2 carbon. So in this scenario we have 2 subcategories. The 2 subcategory of these 2 level. One will be the halogen is attached to sp2 carbon which is not conjugated or which is not of benzene. So this is simply called as vinyl halide. Vinyl halide. And the other one is where halogen is attached to sp2 carbon which is of benzene. The sp2 carbon is of benzene. And such halides are called as aryl halide. Such halides are called as aryl halides. So we have 5 different type of halides on the basis of carbon nature: alkyl or haloalkanes, allyl halide, benzyl halide, aryl halide and vinyl halide. The name of chapter is for these 2 halides haloalkanes and haloarenes. So that's why we will be studying extensively 2 from each one from the category, and we will be discussing their properties. And on the basis of aryl halide, vinyl can be understood, and on the basis of alkyl, allyl and benzyl can easily be understood. That's why we are taking 1 from each category. Let's see some example here. For example, we have certain halides. You can try these to arrange them in the category of the previous discussed 5. This is CH2, CH2, CH2 iodine, CH2Br, CH3Br. Now let's find the category of these halide compound. If we see for first, this is a single bond carbon, and if the carbon is single bonded, the halogen carbon is sp3 hybridized, then we look for the next carbon, the next nearest neighbor. This one and this one, both are single bonded. So sp3 and the neighbors are also sp3. So this is the alkyl halide, or we can say specifically this is the alkyl bromide. Also, this is a 2-degree carbon, so this is a secondary bromide. This is a secondary. We can classify on the basis of degree as well, or and on the nature as well. Now in the second case, this is a sp3 carbon, single bonded, and the neighbor carbon is double bonded, which is sp2. So if neighbor of sp3 is sp2, then such halides are allyl halides. So this is a allyl bromide, and we can also see this is also a secondary halide because the carbon attached here is secondary carbon. In third case, if we see, this is a sp3 carbon. Now some might get confused that there is a benzene ring, so it will be benzyl or aryl. But if we see here, this is a sp3 carbon, and the neighbor of sp3 is also sp3. We don't have to look beyond the neighbor. We don't have to look beyond the neighbor because we only need just nearest neighbor. So in that scenario, if we see the both carbon are sp3, so this is also an alkyl iodide. This also belongs to the category of alkyl halide, and this is a primary halide because the carbon here is 1-degree carbon. In the fourth case, if we see, this is a sp3 carbon, and the neighbor is sp2 non-benzene. Neighbor is sp2 non-benzene, so this is also allyl. Although the neighbor is conjugated, here pi bond conjugation is present, but still this will fall into the category of allyl because the neighbor is not of benzene. Now if we see fifth, this is a sp3 carbon and the neighbor carbon is benzene. So this will belong to benzyl category. This will belong to benzyl category. And the degree will be 1 degree. Degree will be 1 degree. Here also the degree is 1 degree. This is also a primary halide. And if we see for the sixth one, I hope you get this clear that this is perfectly an aryl halide. Why I say so? Because the halogen is directly attached to the benzene carbon. So we have 5 category, single bonded, then we have to check for the neighbor. Single bonded neighbor means alkyl, double bonded neighbor means allyl, benzene neighbor means benzyl. And if double bonded carbon, then we don't have to check the neighbor, only this, if double bonded benzene, aryl, otherwise vinyl. So we have 5 categories for this classification where we use nature of carbon to categorize the halide compound. Now the nomenclature of halogen compound and isomerism. So we have already discussed this, just a quick flashback, that we use prefix halo for halogen in the nomenclature, and there is no suffix dedicated for such functional group. Halogens are treated as substituent during the naming. For fluorine the prefix will be fluoro, for chlorine it will be chloro, for bromine it will be bromo, and for iodine it will be iodo. So if we check for some of the names, fluorine and bromine, so if we number these hydrocarbons, then clearly we will be starting from this side for lowest location. This is a 4 carbon chain. 1 is bromine, second is fluorine. Alphabetically B comes first. So 1 bromo, 2 fluoro, and for 4 carbon it will become butane. So that's how we write the IUPAC name of halogenated hydrocarbons. If we number here, so double bond is having more priority than substituent, we can use the priority FMS. Functional group, multiple bond and substituent. So the numbering will be done from this side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We are having 3 bromo. Now we have a 5 carbon chain, so pent and 1 ene, because we have a double bond at one position. So the name will be 3 bromo pent 1 ene. Now for the next, if we see, this is a benzene derivative. So the numbering will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2. 2 chlorines are there, that's why dichloro. 1, 2 dichloro benzene. This will be the IUPAC name of the given aromatic aryl halide. And if we look for this one, so this is having 2 bromine and 1 iodine. Bromine has alphabetical priority as well. So the numbering will start from this side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we are having 1, 2 dibromo, 3 iodo, and for 6 member chain we have cyclohexane. So this would be the IUPAC name of this last halogenated hydrocarbon. So this is a basic introduction for IUPAC naming. Rest we can learn from GOC 1. And now if we see, two case of common naming as well. Two case of common naming we also have to study. First is for geminal. Sometimes it becomes quite confusing that how geminal dihalides and how vicinal dihalides are named in the common system. And the second one is vicinal. So if we remember correctly, then geminal are those which have 2 halogen atom on the same position. 2 halogen atom on the same position. So the common naming system of geminal is alkylidene halide. And vicinal are those in which 2 same halogen atom are on the neighboring position, and the common naming system is alkylene dihalide. So if we look closely, there is a significant difference between these two naming. If the ID word is in between the alkylene word, if the ID is inside the ID word, then it is for geminal. And if that ID is converted into di, this ID is converted into di and is before the halogen, then it represents vicinal. So that's how we will get correct information that which name is of geminal and which name is of vicinal on the basis of the position of ID. If the position of ID is in between alkylene, then it is geminal dihalide. If the position of ID is reversed and before the halogen, then it is vicinal. For example, if we see two names, suppose we have a name ethylene dichloride, and the other name is ethylidene chloride. Suppose we have these two names. Then look here we have di before the chloride. So this indicates this is a vicinal halide. And we have a 2 carbon chain. So we have a 2 carbon chain. Vicinal means we have 2 halogen atom which are chlorine on the neighboring position. And rest of the position can be satisfied with hydrogen. So this is the ethylene dichloride molecule. And here the di or ID word is in between ethylene. So again we have a 2 carbon chain, but the chlorine atom are present on one of the carbon atom. Both chlorine atom are one of the carbon atom. And the rest valency can be satisfied using hydrogen. So this we also have to understand the common naming system of geminal and vicinal halides. Now let's move ahead and we discuss about the isomerism. In isomerism, we get question like this. Suppose we have a molecule which is 2-methyl pentane, and the question asks number of monobrominated hydrocarbons, and sometimes it is specified that structures only. That means we do not have to consider for stereoisomerism. And one more thing, that halogen does not show any specific isomerism. These are the general isomerism like chain isomerism, positional isomerism, functional isomerism, and such other isomerism. So 2-methylpentane, first we have to draw the structure of 2-methylpentane, which is CH3, CH, the second position is having a methyl group, and we have a 5-carbon chain. So this is the structure of 2-methylpentane. And the question is asking about monobrominated derivative. That means we have to replace one of the hydrogen atom with bromine only. Only one of the hydrogen atom. So if we see, these two hydrogen positions are completely identical. That means whether we replace hydrogen of this position or this position, this does not create any difference. And this hydrogen position is different. On the basis of numbering, this hydrogen position is different, this position is different, and this position is different from other position. So overall, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 unique hydrogen position or 5 different type of hydrogen. And if we have 5 different type of hydrogen, then we will be having 5 different structures for monobrominated derivative. For monobrominated derivatives. So from here we can say that we will be having 5 monobrominated hydrocarbon from this 2-methylpentane. How we can prepare it? This is something different, but we can prepare 5 monobrominated derivative from this 2-methylpentane. So that's how we do the question of isomerism, structural isomerism, that how can we make monobrominated, dibrominated, tribrominated, and so on. Let's see another question. Suppose we have 2-methyl butane, and the question asks monochlorinated hydrocarbon, the number of monochlorinated hydrocarbon, but here it is not specified that we are looking for structures. Here we are looking for total. Now this is looking a similar question. This is looking a similar question to the previous one, but the approach will be slightly different. How? Let's see here. CH3, CH2, CH3. This is a 4-carbon chain, and we have a methyl group on second position. So this is 2-methylbutane. Now if we see here, we have this hydrogen and this. These are the unique these are the identical position, and all the position other than this are different. The difference can be judged on the basis of substituent or on the basis of position. So overall, we have here 1, 2, 3, 4 different hydrogen position where we can replace one chlorine atom. Let's try them. I am drawing the bond line structure. We have 4 different structures. So first we will draw 2-methylbutane. Now the first is the green circle. So I am replacing one hydrogen from this green circle with chlorine. This is the first structure possible. The second is blue circle. So I am replacing one hydrogen from this blue circle with chlorine. The next is the orange circle. This hydrogen from the chlorine atom. And the last is the white circle, in which I am replacing this hydrogen with the halogen atom. Now let us see These are the 4 structures that are possible. But the question is asking total. If we look here closely, this carbon has become a chiral center. This carbon has become a chiral center. As you already know, the chiral center can be optically active and can form 2 different dextro and levo isomers. So instead of 1, we will be counting this structure as 2. If you see here, there is no chiral center. This carbon has 2 methyl identical group. If you see here, there is 1 chiral center here. This is different, this is different, this is different, and hydrogen is different. So this will also be counted as 2, not 1. This will be counted as 1. And this is not having any chiral center, so this will be counted as 1. So we have 4 structure, but if someone asks total isomers here, so we have 2 plus 1, 3 plus 2, 1 plus 2, 5 plus 1, 6. So we will be having a total of 6 monochlorinated hydrocarbon from 2-methyl butane. So if the question asks about the structures only, then we have to look only for the different position. But if the question asks about the total isomers, then we have to check for these structure for any geometrical and optical activity, for stereoisomerism as well. Let's move ahead and see the method of preparation. How can we prepare the normal halogenated hydrocarbon? The method can be divided into 2 categories. One is for haloalkanes or the category of haloalkanes, and the second is for haloarenes or for the category of haloarenes. The category of haloalkane mean alkyl halide, allyl halide, and benzyl halide, while the category of haloarenes means aryl and vinyl halides. So we are having 5 different divided into 2 different categories. So first method is from alkene. From alkene we have various methods. Suppose we have a double bonded hydrocarbon. So in order to prepare the halogenated carbon, the first method is addition of HX, which is according to Markovnikov addition. Markovnikov addition. And on one carbon there is hydrogen, and on the other carbon the halogen is attached. And one more minor product will be formed if the 2 positions are different. According to Markovnikov addition, we check for the more stable carbocation position, or we say that the halogen is attached to that carbon position which forms more stable carbocation. Halogen would be attached to that hydrocarbon which form more stable carbocation. The second method of preparation is the direct addition of X2 in CCl4. The direct addition of X2 in CCl4. These all are electrophilic addition reaction of the chapter hydrocarbon. So in case of X2, as all the positions are, all the reagent are identical, so we will be having 2 halogen atom instead of a pi bond. The pi bond will be broken and 2 halogen atom will be attached here. And this reaction follows anti-addition. Anti-addition. That means if I draw correctly, then that means 2 halogen atom will be approached from the opposite end. 2 halogen atom will be approached from the opposite end. Another method can be the addition of X2. The addition of X2 in presence of water. X2 water. Now this is different than the CCl4 addition. CCl4 is a non-polar solvent, and non-polar solvent does not produce any nucleophile. But H2O is a polar solvent and it itself will produce a nucleophile OH minus. That means there will be a competition between OH minus and X minus. There will be a competition between OH minus from water and X minus for X2. So we will be having first X plus. This X2 will give another X plus halonium ion that will be attached. But out of X minus and OH minus, because OH minus is more powerful, then OH will be attached. Plus a minor product will be formed according to anti-Markovnikov. Now this reaction also follows anti-addition through the formation of halonium carbonium ion. Halonium carbonium ion, halocarbonium ion. And the last method from alkene, the preparation method can be addition of HBr in presence of peroxide. Addition of HBr in presence of peroxide. Now this is known as peroxide effect or anti-Markovnikov addition. which follows free radical mechanism, although all these reactions were of electrophilic addition reaction. Electrophilic addition reaction. But in that scenario, we are having anti-Markovnikov addition. That means halogen will be attached to that carbon. Halogen will be attached to that carbon, which forms less stable carbocation. Less stable carbocation. So here anti-Markovnikov addition is shown only by HBr. Whereas in case of rest of the molecule, the addition is not according to anti-Markovnikov. Only for HBr, in presence of any peroxide like H2O2, hydrogen peroxide, peroxybenzoic acid, or any other peroxide, the reaction follows anti-Markovnikov addition. The major product of this mechanism becomes the minor product of this reaction. Becomes the minor product of this reaction. Here, the halogen atom is attached to that carbon which have more alpha hydrogen. More alpha hydrogen. But here, the halogen atom is attached to that carbon which have less alpha hydrogen. Which have less alpha hydrogen. That's why less stability of carbocation. Now the second method is preparation from alcohols. Alcohols are already our nucleophilic molecules, ROH. Let's see how we can prepare them from ROH. So ROH is having OH, and in the previous slide we have seen that OH minus is powerful than halogen. OH minus is powerful than X minus. Then how can X minus replace OH minus? We need some help. We need some help, beta. How can X minus replace OH minus when we already said in the previous slide that OH minus is more powerful than X minus? OH minus is more powerful than X minus, then how can X minus replace OH minus without any help? So the help here is acidic hydrogen. The help here is acidic hydrogen. If I detour some reaction, then this acidic hydrogen, alcohol want to be protonated. Alcohol wants to be protonated. That means whenever there is some acidic hydrogen available, then the alcohol accepts that hydrogen and becomes ROH2 positive. ROH2 positive. Now this OH is strong, but the positive charge on O will make it a good leaving group. Oxygen does not want a positive charge, and oxygen will be wanting to be moved from here by gaining some electron to finish its positive charge. So in the medium, if the medium is acidic, we can make the OH minus a good leaving group by protonation of alcohol. And now the halogen can replace the OH ion, and we will get alkyl halide. So remember this, without acidic medium, without making OH a good leaving group, the halogen ion, the X minus ion cannot replace OH minus ion. That means if I do this reaction in presence of NaCl or NaBr or NaI, the reaction will not take place. The reaction will not take place as Cl, Br and iodine are not strong enough to replace the OH. But if I do the reaction in presence of HCl or in presence of HBr or in presence of HI, the reaction will proceed because of the acidic medium. Now what does this anhydrous ZnCl2 do? This anhydrous ZnCl2 helps in the ionization of HCl. In halogens, down the group acidic character increases, so HCl needs some more help. HCl needs some more help for ionization, which is why we have taken anhydrous ZnCl2, zinc chloride. The second method is using phosphorus. The help is from phosphorus using PX5. So we will get here RX, or we can use PX3 phosphorus trihalide or red phosphorus plus X2. This will give again RX, and we can have Dalton's method SOCl2. This will again gives RCl. So this Dalton's method the SOCl2 thionyl chloride. This Dahl's method is only for alkyl chloride. Dahl's method. Moreover, in this reaction the side product are gaseous, SO2 gas and HCl gas. So due to this gaseous products, the reaction is preferred because here we get a little bit purer form of alkyl chloride. A little bit purer form of alkyl chloride. Here the side product is H3PO3. Here the side product is POX3 and plus H2O plus HX plus HX, and here the side product is H2O. So using these 5 methods, HX plus anhydrous ZnCl2, PX5, PX3 and red phosphorus plus X2 or SOCl2. These 5 methods we can prepare alkyl halide from alcohols. One more thing to remember, that in this reaction HX is prepared in C2. In C2 means, this is a very important question for board purposes. HX is prepared in C2. In C2 means in the reaction mixture. So instead of taking directly HCl, HBr or HI, we take NaCl, NaBr and NaI, and we make them react with concentrated H2SO4. So instead of directly taking the acid itself, we take their salt and we react them with more stronger acid H2SO4. And in this case H2SO4 changes NaCl into HCl, NaBr into HBr, but for NaI the reagent is changed and it becomes H3PO4, and then we get HI. So from here another question arises, that why there is a partiality with NaI? Why we have done a partiality with NaI? Why we have chosen another reagent for NaI? The reason is obvious, because H2SO4 is the oxidizing agent as well as acid, and HI is a powerful reducing agent. So if we prepare HI in presence of H2SO4, if I prepare HI in presence of H2SO4, which is an oxidizing agent, and this is a reducing agent, then there will be a redox reaction and it will be difficult to use HI for this reaction. That's why we have chosen H3PO4, non-oxidizing acid, during the preparation of HI. And in C2 means in the reaction mixture. So these are the common method to prepare alkyl halides from alcohol. Now the next method of preparation is from silver salts of fatty acid. And this reaction is also a name reaction. This reaction is called as Borodin-Hunsdijker reaction. Borodin-Hunsdijker reaction. So as this is a name reaction, this is a very important reaction, and this follows that we have a silver salt of higher fatty acid, that means long chain saturated hydrocarbons, and we reflect this compound with bromine in presence of CCl4. Refluxing means we heat this for a very long time under a constant composition mixture. So after refluxing, this CO2 is removed as a free radical. So CO2 gas is removed. The silver free radical is reacted with Br free radical to form AgBr, and the remaining Br from this is reacted with this R radical, and this forms RBr. So this method can only be employed in order to form alkyl bromide. And also in this method there is a loss of one carbon atom from the chain. So if we have a chain of 5 carbon atom in carboxylic acid, then we will get only 4 carbon atom chain in the product alkyl halide. We can take one example as well here. If we have this type of silver salt, and if we reflux it with Br2 in CCl4, So this COO group will be removed, and the position from where it is removed, the position from where it is removed will be the position where Br will attached. So we will get 2-bromobutane along with CO2 gas. So that's how this reaction proceeds. Now let's see another reaction, and this is a very important reaction, that is halogen exchange method. As we have seen that most of the time we are using chlorine and bromine in the preparation method. The reason behind is that chlorine and bromine are the moderately reactive halogen. Fluorine is too much reactive and iodine is too less reactive. That's why most of the time we use chlorine and bromine in the lab in order to prepare the compounds. And if we need fluorine or iodine, fluoride and iodide, then we do the halogen exchange using chlorine and bromine. What we do here is we take an alkyl chloride or we take an alkyl bromide. We take an alkyl chloride or we take an alkyl bromide, and we have two methods here. Either we make it react with NaI in acetone, or we make it react with some fluorinating agent like AgF, silver fluoride, or antimony fluoride, or another fluorinating agent, LiAlF4 type. Now this NaI in acetone, this gives us Ri, and in any acetone, NaCl or NaBr are precipitated. So this is the SN2 reaction that we will study further. What is the SN2 and SN1 reaction? So this reaction follows SN2 mechanism, and the purpose of acetone is it precipitates NaCl and NaBr and stops the backward reaction. Otherwise the backward reaction will be dominating. That's why here the use of acetone is compulsory. In case of water, the backward reaction will be more, as NaCl and NaBr are soluble in water and there will not be formation of alkyl iodide. That's why the solvent acetone here is important. And in this case, we get the alkyl fluoride. Now both of these reactions are name reaction. This is a Finkelstein reaction. The iodide exchange is called as Finkelstein reaction, while the halogen fluoride exchange reaction is called as Schwarz reaction. This is called as Schwarz reaction. So both of these reactions are name reaction, and both of these reaction follows SN2 mechanism. One reaction is for the preparation of alkyl iodide and the other reaction is for the preparation of alkyl fluoride. So we can do the halogen exchange on alkyl chloride and bromide. Now these are the two methods. We are going to study two methods for preparation of aryl halides. Most of the reaction here are name reaction, and in organic chemistry beta, name reactions are usually more important. So we have to give them more focus. Now if we see here, from diazonium salt, first we have to make the diazonium salt. So we use this aniline molecule and we make it react with NaNO2 and HCl at 0 to 5 degrees Celsius. That is at a very, very low temperature. And this is converted into benzene diazonium chloride. This is converted into benzene diazonium chloride. Now this diazonium salt is a very useful organic synthesis compound, as N2 is having a positive charge and it won't want a positive charge. So this N2 has a very high tendency to leave here, leaving a positive charge on benzene ring, and that positive charge can attract any of the nucleophile. That's why the benzene ring on which the nucleophilic substitution is very, very, very difficult. This substitution by a nucleophile can be done easily with the help of this benzene diazonium salt. That's why this diazonium compound is a very important compound. And if I look here, so with diazonium salt, this is stable only at ice cold temperature. So we react with it Q plus salt with HX. We make it react with Q plus salt with HX and heat it. On heating, this N2 is removed as nitrogen gas. This N2 is removed as nitrogen gas beta, and the positive charge comes here on the benzene ring, and that positive charge attracts the X minus ion. That positive charge attracts the X minus ion. This specific reaction is called as Sandmeyer reaction. Sandmeyer reaction. So here what we are doing is we are reacting the diazonium salt with an inorganic acid and the Q plus salt of that acid. It could be HX, HCl, HBr, HI and even HCN. We can also prepare cyanobenzene from here. And with in case of iodine, as Ki is sufficient enough to replace it, so for iodobenzene we can directly use Ki as well as the above method. So this is a very useful organic conversion, attaching a nucleophile on benzene ring. We can attach so many nucleophiles using this diazonium salt, which we will be studying in the further upcoming chapters. And the next method is from benzene and its derivative. This is a very common method. We have a benzene or a derivative of benzene, and we react it with X2 and some Lewis acid. X2 and some Lewis acid. This reaction is called as halogenation reaction. Halogenation reaction. So in presence of Lewis acid, this X2 gives an electrophile X plus, and the benzene is a nucleophilic ring. So this benzene attracts this electrophile and replace it with H. Attract the electrophile and replace it with H. So the reaction is called as electrophilic substitution reaction. Electrophilic substitution reaction. Benzene has a signature 5 this type of reaction: nitration, sulfonation, halogenation, Friedel-Crafts, alkylation and acylation. This reaction is one of those 5 reactions. So this is a very common method to prepare halogen derivative of benzene from benzene or its derivative. Now these are the methods of preparation of alkyl and aryl halides. Now let's talk about the physical property. In case of physical property, we have to understand about the 2 property importantly: boiling point and solubility. Boiling point and solubility. So if we look for the boiling point, so for boiling point we look for 2 things. First, if the number of carbon atom increases, if the number of carbon atom increases, and the second, for isomers, that is the same number of carbon atoms, if branching increases, if branching increases. So if we see the carbon halogen bond, the carbon halogen does not have very much electronegativity difference. So if we see the carbon halogen, then there is a very little polar nature, very little polar nature. So the main attraction or main interaction here will be van der Waals interaction, because the polar nature is weak, the dipole is very weak, so dipole interaction would also be weaker. So mainly the carbon halogen bonds show van der Waals interaction, and the properties are decided on the basis of that interaction as well. So first thing, if the number of carbon atom will increase, if the number of carbon atom will increase, that is the length of chain will increase, so the surface area of chain will increase, and with the surface area being increased, van der Waals force will also become stronger, as those force depends on the surface area. Van der Waals force depends on surface area beta. Surface area. So as the length of carbon chain is increasing, the surface area is also increasing, and that will result in more van der Waals force, and that's why on increasing the length of carbon chain, the boiling point of halides increases. The boiling point of halides increases. Now if the same halogen chain, same carbon chain is there, but there is some branching, that is some part is broken from here and attached here. So the molecule will become spherical in shape, will go towards a spherical shape, and we know a sphere has minimum surface area. So as the branching increases, surface area will start to decrease. As the branching increases, molecule will become spherical and surface area will start to decrease. And if surface area will decrease, then boiling point will also decrease. In simple word, pentane and hexane. So hexyl chloride will have higher boiling point. And if we talk about butane and isobutane, so butyl chloride will have higher boiling point than isobutyl chloride, because isobutyl chloride will have more branching. And the third thing that we see, alkyl iodide, same carbon chain, same branching, then the decision will be on the basis of halogen. So as the size of halogen atom will increase, van der Waals force will increase, so iodide will have higher boiling point and fluoride will have least boiling point. So this is a general order for boiling point of halogenated compounds. And if we see the solubility, if we look here for the solubility as well, so as they are very weakly polar, and for solubility we have a concept of like dissolves like. For solubility we have a concept of like dissolves like. So they are very less polar, and water prefers polar solute. Water wants to dissolve polar solute. So very weakly polar will be very less soluble in water. So these are very weakly polar, and that's why very weakly soluble in polar solvents. But the solubility will be higher. But the solubility will be higher in non-polar solvent as polarity is less. Solubility will be higher in non-polar solvents like benzene, hexane, but the solubility will be very less in polar solvent like water, acetone and other ethyl alcohol like solvent. So these are the common physical parameters of halogen compounds. And if we talk about the chemical properties, so we see here three types of reaction. First is nucleophilic substitution, second is elimination, and third is reaction with metal. So what is a nucleophilic substitution? We have an alkyl halide, a nucleophile comes and replace this halide ion as X minus. So such reactions are called as nucleophilic substitution, SN reaction. A nucleophile is replacing another nucleophile which is halogen. And the nucleophilic substitution can generally go through two mechanisms. One is SN1, nucleophilic substitution unimolecular, and the another is SN2, nucleophilic substitution. Now let's see one of these case, which is nucleophilic substitution reaction unimolecular. Now what does this unimolecularity means? Unimolecular means those reaction in which the rate determining step, the slowest step is of unimolecularity. That means only one molecule is involved in that step. So this is SN1 reaction. Sometimes someone thinks that this is always a first order reaction, so it's not compulsory. The molecularity must be 1. The order of this reaction can 1, or sometime it can be complicated as well. So this is a two-step reaction. We have a carbon chain. In the first step, which is the rate determining step of the reaction, the halogen bond is broken because of the solvent. And we get a planar sp2 hybridized carbocation. And X minus is evolved. So this is the first step of the reaction. And in the second step, this planar carbocation, which is having a vacant orbital, from the orbital from which X has been removed. So this is having a vacant orbital, and this nucleophile attack on that vacant orbital in order to form the new product. So this is a reaction which follows two-step mechanism, follows carbocation intermediate, and gives a product through carbocation planarity. Now let's see the features of this reaction. The first feature is, if we talk about SN1, then the reactivity for carbon chain will depend on the stability of carbocation, right? If the carbocation is more stable, it would be easier to form, and the slow step will be progressed very easily. So the reactivity will depend on the stability of carbocation, and that's why 3-degree alkyl halide will have higher tendency to give this reaction as 2 degree, as 1 degree, and the least tendency for SN1 will be of methyl, which will be forming least stable carbocation because of number of alpha hydrogen. For halogen, the reactivity will depend on the leavability, because leavability will weaken the carbon halogen bond, and the first step will be easier. The rate determining step will be easier if halogen is leaving easily, and the leavability order for halogen is I minus, Br minus, and the weakest leaving group among halogen is F minus because of high electronegativity. So we can say that alkyl iodide with 3-degree carbon will be most reactive for SN1, and methyl fluoride with methyl group will be least reactive for SN1 reaction. The second thing is that as the reaction follows carbocation mechanism and carbocation is planar, so the upcoming nucleophile, if the carbocation is planar, the upcoming nucleophile can attack either from the upper side or from the lower side. First the molecule was non-planar, tetrahedral molecule, then the loss of halogen makes the molecule planar, and now in the planar molecule we have a vacant p orbital, and the nucleophile can attack on the upper lobe as well as can the bottom lobe. So due to this, nucleophile can attack from that side from which halogen is leaving, or nucleophile can attack from the back side from where the halogen is leaving. So we get both retention and inversion of configuration. This is with regards to optical activity. If the optical activity is absent, then it does not have any sense about retention and inversion. So someone can also say that there is racemization. Correct, there is racemization, but we will study further that the inversion is more. That means there is not equal distribution of front and back attack. The backside attack is more and the front side attack is less. So the inverted product will be more and the retented product will be less. This we will study shortly because of solvent effect. The next thing about this reaction is that any polar protic solvent, that means those solvent which can give H plus solvent. So polar protic solvent promotes SN1 reaction. Now if we see about inversion and retention, the solvent effect. Suppose we have H here, CH3 here, CH2 here. Yeah, let's draw a Fisher projection. That will be more better. CH3, H, C2H5 and Br. and we give here OH minus, which is a powerful nucleophile, then Br minus. OH minus can directly remove halogen. Halogen cannot directly remove halogen or OH minus ion. So this will be removing OH minus, and we will be getting CH3, H, C2H5, OH, and one more product, CH3, H, OH, C2H5. As you can see, this is the chiral center. This is a chiral molecule. This is optically active. And this molecule is giving two products. One is the retented product, in which the OH is on the same side as the Br leaving side. And the another one is inverted product, in which OH is opposite of Br leaving side. And now I have said earlier that inverted product will be more and retented product will be less. That is, the major product will be the inverted product. And we can also say here partial racemization. Partial racemization is occurring. Partial racemization is occurring. Because inversion and retention both are not equal or 50-50%. Now why this happens? Why this happens? This effect is called as solvent effect. This effect is called as solvent effect. Let's see about some orbital diagram. Let's go to the chemical bonding and see some orbital diagram that we have an sp3 hybridized carbon which have a sp3 orbital and bromine. Bromine is attached to this sp3 orbital. Rest three bonds I have taken as general. Now when this bromine is removed, the carbon automatically becomes planar. The carbon automatically becomes planar. The hybridization changes to sp2 from sp3 and the orbital becomes unhybrid. As soon as this Br is left, the orbital will become unhybrid and Br will be going away. Br will be going away from this bonded site. But positive and negative attraction is still there, and it will take some time for solvent to operate. So the thing will happen here, slowly and steadily, the solvent will start to come in between this positive and negative ion. It is the solvent work to separate the ion pair, and finally, Br minus will be completely separated. Br minus will be completely separated. So this is called as intimate ion pair, because ions are formed but they are not moving away from each other. This is called intimate ion pair. This is called solvent separated ion pair. Solvent separated ion pair. And these are ion pair totally separated. Now if we see here, beta, the bond has already broken. Carbon has already become trivalent. The reactivity has increased. So the reaction will start from this step only. And slowly the solvent will separate the Br, but the reaction will start in this step only, and nucleophile will start to attack. Nucleophile will start to attack. As we can see, nucleophile can go from this orbital lobe or this both, but in this side there is a repulsion of Br minus. Yes or no? There is a repulsion of Br minus, and that Br minus will oppose the nucleophile to come. That Br minus will oppose the nucleophile to come, and nucleophile will have a higher tendency to attack from the backside. That's why in this scenario, there will be more inversion and less retention. There will be more inversion and less retention. Again in this step, nucleophile will keep on attacking on the halide ion, on the carbocation ion. Again the retented step or attack will be increased. But still the major portion of attack will be backside attack, because Br minus still has this presence here. Br minus is still opposing the incoming nucleophile. Again in this step, inverted product will be more, retented product will be less. Only in this step, in the final separated step, the probability will be equal. Both nucleophile will attack on the from the both direction equally, and only in this case there will be complete racemization. There will be complete racemization. 50% retention, 50% inversion. But the overall product mixture, if I say about overall product mixture, then it will be having the combined product of these three steps or scenario, and finally the inverted product will be more in amount and retented product will be less in amount in the final mixture. That's why we say due to solvent effect, SN1 reaction proceed through partial racemization beta. Always remember this fact that racemization is occurring in SN1, but the racemization is not 100%. It is a partial racemization case. It is a partial racemization case. And now if we see about the energy profile diagram. The energy profile diagram for SN1 reaction. Energy and reaction coordinate. So the diagram is something like this. The reactant will go to activated site, intermediate will be formed, and finally the product will be formed. This is reactant, this is intermediate, this is product. The first step is the slow step, and the second step is the fast step with less activation energy. If the reaction is endothermic, then the product will be above the reactant energy level. The energy level of product will depend on the basis of endo or exothermic nature of the reaction. But this is a general two-step reaction energy profile diagram through the formation of an intermediate, and these two higher energy state will be transition state 1 and transition state 2. Transition state 1 and transition state 2. So that's all about SN1 reaction. Now let's see what is SN2. Nucleophilic substitution bimolecular reaction, which is called as SN2 reaction. So what happens in SN2 reaction? That we have an alkyl halide, and this halogen does not want to go from here. It's saying I will not go from here, I will not leave this carbon atom, I will stay here forever. This halogen atom is not wanting to leave the carbon atom. That means the bond is strong, the attraction is strong. But comes a nucleophile. A nucleophile comes and it says I will remove it, I will separate it. So what it do? It attacks, it goes from the backside door and attack on the carbon atom. It attacks on the carbon atom, and carbon can only form 4 bonds at a time. So as soon as the carbon is being attacked, it shows some disloyalty with this halogen and asks it to go away. Ask it to go away. A transition phase, a phase of fighting and all, a transition phase occurs and the halogen starts to go away. Finally, the halogen lose hope and start to go away, and the nucleophile start to form the covalent bond. So there is a transition state where the bond is being formed as well as the bond is being broken. The bond is formed and broken at the same time. Here you can see the carbon is pentabonded, but it's not true. Carbon cannot form 5 bonds. Carbon is not pentavalent here. Carbon is not pentavalent here. Here the bond is broken and this is being formed. Overall the total bond order will be 4. If this is 0.75, then the bond order for this will be 0.25. The combined bond order of these two bonds will be 1 only. So the bond order or the valency of carbon in this transition state is still 4. Carbon cannot form more than 4 bonds. And finally, when the bond is broken, the nucleophile is attached, although on the opposite side of halogen leaving site, because it is attacking from the back side. It is attacking from the back side. So if we talk about SN2 reaction, what we see here, first thing is, this is a one-step reaction. This is a one-step reaction through a transition state. The product is formed directly. If we talk about reactivity, if we talk about reactivity, then the reactivity depends upon steric hindrance. Because the attack is from backside, so if the backside has less crowding, if the backside is not very much crowded, then the nucleophile can easily attack from the backside. But if there is a very much crowding on the backside, the nucleophile will have some difficulty in order to come to the carbon atom of attack. So the steric hindrance decide the activity for SN2 reaction. So that's why the reactivity order of carbon chain will become methyl, which is least hindered, then primary, then secondary, and the least reactive will be 3 degree because of the highest hindrance. As you can see, this order is reverse of SN1, but the reason is different. Don't think the molecule which is less reactive for SN1 will become more reactive for SN2. It's not compulsory. The reason for both reactivity order is different. There we have seen the reactivity through carbocation, and here we are seeing the reactivity through formation of transition state, which is based on steric hindrance. And for halogen, the order is same, which is according to the leavability. The easy leaving halogen will be more reactive, and the difficultly leaving halogen will be less reactive for this reaction. Now for the third thing, we can say a polar aprotic solvent. Polar aprotic solvent promotes SN2 reaction. Promotes SN2 reaction. So there polar aprotic solvent was promoting, polar protic solvent was promoting H plus donor for SN1, and for SN2 polar solvent should be there, but it should be aprotic like acetone, which is aprotic solvent. And the fourth thing, as the attack is completely from the backside, there is no chance for front side attack, because in front the halogen atom has not left yet. So the attack is 100% from the backside, and that's why this reaction follows 100% inversion. This reaction follows 100% inversion. That is, there is only one product form which have a inverted configuration if the optical activity is there. If optical activity is there, then the configuration is 100% inverted. And there is no such thing as solvent effect, so we can directly move to energy profile diagram. Energy profile diagram for SN2 reaction. Energy and extent of reaction or reaction coordinate. So here we can see the reactant will go to a transition state and directly form the product. And directly form the product without any intermediate. And this will be above the product reactant level if the reaction is endothermic. If this is endothermic, then it will be above the reactant energy. If it is exothermic, then it will be below the reactant energy level. The heat will be evolved, but there will only be formation of one transition state. So the common reaction is, we can see for alkyl halide, we can have ammonia, which can replace halogen and form RNH2. Any nucleophile can replace halogen, because halogen are usually very weaker nucleophile. So most of the nucleophile like nitrogen, carbon, halogen, oxygen, sulfur, they can replace halogen easily. So ammonia can replace. If we take 1 degree amine, so this also has lone pair. This can also replace and form diamine. Each time one of the hydrogen of nitrogen is being lost, because nitrogen can form 3 bonds in neutral state. So all the halogens are removed as HX. Nitrogen is attacking, this halogen is being removed, and the nitrogen is losing one of its hydrogen to gain neutrality again. We can take secondary amine, so it will lose one more hydrogen and form tertiary amine. Or we can take tertiary amine, So it don't have any hydrogen to lose, so it will form quaternary ammonium salt. There will be no way for nitrogen to lose its charge, and that's why there will be formation of quaternary ammonium salt. So you can see all these reactions occur simultaneously. Ammonia keeps on attacking. So when ammonia attacks for the first time, RNH2 is formed. Now this RNH2 which is formed in the reaction, this attacks again on the RX, then secondary amine is formed. This attack on RX again, then tertiary is formed, and this attack on RX again, then quaternary salt is formed. So these all reactions occur simultaneously, and this is called as Hofmann's ammonolysis reaction. Hofmann's ammonolysis reaction. Another reaction that we can see from here is aqueous alkali like NaOH, KOH, and other alkalis. They can give OH minus and produce alcohol, that is ROH. If we take aqueous KCN, so KCN gives CN minus, and C negative is powerful nucleophile than neutral, and negative charge is more powerful than neutral. So C will attack and RCN will be formed. But now keep your attention here. If we take AgCN is less ionic, or we can say it is more covalent. So in case of KCN we had a CN minus ion, but in case of AgCN we don't have CN minus ion, and there is no negative charge on carbon. Then only nitrogen has the function or the possibility to attack, and if the nitrogen will attack, then we will get RNC in this case. So you have to remember very carefully, if you have the cyano compound of S block, cyanide salt of S block, due to their ionic character they will form alkyl nitrile. But if you have a cyano salt of D block, transition metal, due to their more covalent character, they will form isocyanide. So based on the basis of ionic and covalent character, this changes is being occurring, that carbon is more powerful than nitrogen nucleophile. Similar thing occurs if we make it react with KNO2. So this KNO2 is again ionic, having ONO minus ion. Again negative O is powerful nucleophile, so it will form RON double bond O. Alkyl nitrite. But if we make it react with AgNO2, so this does not have any more ionic character. It has a structure like this, and then this nitrogen is more powerful. Along the periodic order, the nucleophilicity decreases, so nitrogen is more powerful, and nitrogen will attack, and we will get nitroalkane. So that's why in case of KCN and AgCN we are getting some difference in product, and similarly in case of AgNO2 and KNO2 we are getting some difference in product due to this scenario. Or we can take any other nucleophile like H minus from metal hydride, carboxylate ion, or some other nucleophile which can replace this halogen ion. But these are the common and most important reaction of nucleophilic substitution category on haloalkanes. Now let's move ahead beta, and we see the second category of reaction, which is elimination reaction. Now what is this elimination reaction? These reaction comes parallel in SN reaction. If the nucleophile becomes more basic, if the basic character of nucleophile increases, for example, if we take alcoholic KOH, then it is more basic. So if we take alcoholic solution of alkalis, then it become more basic, than aqueous solution of KOH or aqueous solution of alkalis, because OH minus is less basic but OR minus, alkoxide ion, is more basic. Or we take sodamide. Sodamide is also a powerful base. Powerful base. Powerful base. So in this scenario, if base is strong, then instead of replacing halogen, the nucleophile or the incoming base remove this hydrogen. This bond is shifted towards this side and this halogen is removed. So now, instead of substitution, elimination occurs. So now we will be having C double bond C, this molecule. Which is a alkene. And now beta, this alkene follows, or this formation of alkene follows even E2 mechanism, similar to SN1 and SN2 mechanism. Like in SN1 we had carbocation. Here also the first step will be same, carbocation formation, unimolecular elimination, and instead of attack on positive, the attack will be on hydrogen. So alkene will be formed according to E1 elimination parallel to SN1 or E2 elimination parallel to SN2. Like SN2 E2 is also one step mechanism. So E1 and E2 both runs parallel to SN1 and SN2 depending on the reagent. The previous reagents gives major product as substituted product, but these bases, alcoholic aqueous solution, alkali solution or sodamide solution, these are the strong bases, and these solution will give you eliminated product. So if we have a alkyl halide like this, and we use aqueous sodamide. So what you have to see here, that halogen is attached on a position which can be assigned as alpha position, and the neighbor of alpha is beta and beta. So we have two possibilities. If this hydrogen is removed or this hydrogen is removed, because if this is removed, the bond will shift here and the halogen will remove from here. This alkene will be formed. But if this hydrogen is removed, then bond will shift here. This chlorine will move here and this alkene will be formed. Now we see here that this double bond has only one alpha hydrogen at this position. This double bond has only one alpha hydrogen, while this double bond has 3 alpha positions, 3, 3, 6, 3, 9, a total of 9 alpha hydrogen. And the stability of alkene is also seen from hyperconjugation. So this alkene will be more stable. And this alkene will be less stable. Alpha positions are those positions which are just neighbor to the functionality. And if the alkene is more stable, then this alkene is called as Sitzeff alkene. It is also said as more substituted alkene. This is called as Sitzeff alkene. And this one, which is less stable, this is called as Hofmann's alkene. Hofmann's alkene. Now, the more stable alkene will be formed in higher amount, so this is a major product, and the less stable alkene will be formed in the lesser amount, so this will be a minor product. So we can say that elimination, whether from E1 or E2, whether occurring from E1 mechanism or E2 mechanism, both type of elimination follows Sitzeff elimination rule. Sitzeff elimination rule means the Sitzeff alkene, the more stable alkene, the more substituted alkene will be the major product. So this elimination, both E1 and E2 follows Sitzeff elimination. Sitzeff elimination. And these eliminations are called as alpha beta dehydrohalogenation. Alpha beta dehydrohalogenation. Why we call them alpha beta dehydrohalogenation? Because the halogen group is being removed from the alpha position and the hydrogen group is being removed from the beta position. In the question we have to see only for this, which is the alpha position, which is the beta position. All the beta position that are present there, we can take one by one each position and form different product. Each product will be contributing towards one beta position. Here we had two different beta positions, so two different products are being formed. And in case of new alkene, we always have to look for geometrical isomerism. That if any of the alkene is geometrically active, these two are both inactive. But if any of the alkene is geometrically active, then this has also to be reported. Cis and trans isomerism. Now the third reaction and the last category of reaction of alkyl halide is reaction with metal. This is a very simple reaction. Then whenever Rx reacts with a metal, the metal converts this positive carbon center. The halogen is more electronegative, carbon is more electropositive, but the metal loses its electron, converts this positive carbon into negative and forms bond with carbon. And such compound where metal atom is directly attached to carbon of organic molecule. The metal atom is directly attached to carbon atom. Such compounds are called as organometallic compound. Such compounds are called as organometallic compounds. And these compounds are very highly reactive. These compounds are very, very highly reactive, and that's why the medium must be free from H plus ion. Otherwise they are highly basic. This R minus is highly basic, and if it gets a smell of H plus ion, if even it gets the smell of H plus ion, it will go towards the H plus ion and do the acid base reaction. That's why the R minus being highly basic should be kept away, very, very far away from the H plus ion. That's why the medium here taken is a dry ether. So two organometallic compounds are of very importance in organic chemistry. One is Rx plus magnesium in presence of dry ether. This will be giving us RMgX. This will be giving us RMgX, which is known as Grignard reagent. Which is known as Grignard reagent. And this Grignard reagent is very much useful. It can be used to prepare almost any of the organic compound. This Grignard reagent can be used to prepare almost any of the organic compound. That's why this is a very important reagent in organic chemistry, which is an organometallic compound, which is formed from alkyl halide. And the second is when Rx react with sodium metal in presence of dry ether. Then also RNA is formed, R minus Na plus. But this is highly ionic, this is highly reactive. The reaction does not stop here. It do SN reaction on the remaining halide, and finally alkane is formed. So that's why in case of sodium metal, we cannot separate the organometallic compound due to high ionic character, very high reactivity. The reaction does not stop here, and this R minus, which is a nucleophile, this attacks on the previous alkyl halide, and there also occurs an SN reaction. SN reaction also occurs in addition to formation of organosodium compound. And when this R group is non-aromatic, the reaction is called as Wurtz reaction. The reaction is called as Wurtz reaction. So this R group is non-aromatic, then the reaction is called as Wurtz reaction. And for aromatic, we will see further what the reaction is called and how the reaction proceed. Now let's talk about the properties of aryl halide. Properties of aryl halides, that is halogen having benzene. Halogen having benzene. What type of reaction this can show? First of all, halogen is a minus I group. Halogen is a minus I group and plus M group. Now, halogen has powerful inductive effect than mesomeric effect. Halogen are the only group which have more powerful inductive effect than their mesomeric effect. That means overall, the halogen will become negative group. That is, it is a electron withdrawing group. It is an electron withdrawing group. But the direction comes from only a plus M. Minus I or inductive effect cannot give the direction. So the direction will be only because of the plus M effect, and plus M means the halogen although are electron withdrawing but ortho and para directing. Ortho and para directing group. Ortho and para directing group. So all the 5 signature benzene reaction. First is nitration, concentrated H2SO4 with HNO3. Second is sulfonation, concentrated H2SO4 only. Third is halogen X2 plus Lewis acid. Fourth is Friedel-Crafts alkylation, RX plus anhydrous AlCl3. And fifth is Friedel-Crafts acylation, RCOX plus anhydrous AlCl3. All these reactions will occur on this molecule as well. Only the difference is that now the group is a directing group. The group will give a direction, and ortho and para product will be formed. So in the case of nitration, we will get a nitro group on para or nitro group on ortho product. In case of sulfonation, the same thing will occur. Halogen and sulfonic acid group will be at para and one minor ortho product. In case of halogenation, again, the new halogen will be at para. The new halogen will be at para or ortho position. In case of Friedel-Crafts reaction, the new alkyl group will be at ortho or para position. And in case of Friedel-Crafts acylation, the new halogen will be the new acyl group will be at para or ortho position. So these are the products that can be formed during the electrophilic substitution reaction over benzene ring of aryl halides. These are only 5 signature reaction, and every aromatic hydrocarbon, every aromatic derivative, every benzene derivative shows these 5 reactions. So these are the most basic 5 reactions of benzene ring: nitration, sulfonation, halogenation, Friedel-Crafts alkylation, and Friedel-Crafts acylation. acylation. So these are the 5 reactions that can occur on benzene ring through electrophilic substitution reaction that we have already studied in class 11th hydrocarbon chapter. Now if we talk about the nucleophilic substitution, these are the main reaction of this chapter. The benzene ring is having halogen and we want a nucleophile to replace this halogen. We want a nucleophile to replace this halogen, which is very, very difficult. Why it's difficult? Let's see here. First of all, this benzene ring is having electron cloud delocalization, and that makes it a nucleophilic ring. The ring itself is nucleophilic. The ring itself is having pi electron cloud above and below the plane. So if already there are electron density, another electron rich compound is coming, it will be repelled. It is very difficult for the nucleophile to come around the electron cloud and attack on the benzene ring. Due to this electron cloud, the nucleophile will be repelled. So first of all, the attack of nucleophile is different. Attack of nucleophile is difficult. Second, due to the conjugation involvement of this X, there is partial double bond character. And that makes the removal of halide difficult as well. So two opposing factors are working. Nucleophile is facing difficulty to reach here, and halogen is also facing difficulty to leave from here. That's why nucleophilic substitution is quite difficult on aryl and vinyl compound, while it is very easy for allyl and benzyl compound. So aryl halides usually show electrophilic substitution, but at higher temperature. So that's why this reaction we have taken at higher temperature and pressure. If we do some drastic condition, then only this OH minus can somehow replace the Cl minus over the benzene ring and form phenol. If we see now here, if some electron withdrawing group is present on the benzene ring at para and ortho position, what happens then? If an electron withdrawing group is present, then this will pull away all the electron density towards itself. It will try to pull the electron density because it is electron withdrawing group, minus M group. If it is pulling the electron density towards itself, then the ring is having less electron density and the nucleophile will come easily. Plus the removal of halogen will become easier. So that's why electron withdrawing group increases reactivity for SN reaction. And electron donating group will decrease the reactivity by donating the electron. Electron withdrawing group makes the benzene less nucleophilic, and that's why the reactivity increases. That's why when we have NO2 group at para position and NO2 group at both ortho and para position, you can see the temperature requirement is less here. As well as 2 NO2 group presence reduces the requirement for temperature further away. And if you have 3 electron withdrawing group at ortho and para position, then the reaction does not require any further temperature or pressure, and the reaction even occurs at room temperature. And the OH minus is directly removed. OH minus directly replaces the halogen group. This is called as picric acid, 2,4,6 trinitrophenol. So in these example, it is quite evident that presence of electron withdrawing group on benzene ring increases the activity for SN reactions over the aryl halides. Now let's move to the last section of this chapter, which is some important polyhalogenated compounds. So this is a very theoretical chapter. We can just look for the properties here, and we have to remember some of the effect of, like we said, dichloromethane, which is a common solvent, for a paint, remover, propellant, aerosol, and this cause the human nervous system. It affects the human nervous system and causes some serious damages like nausea, diarrhea, and etc. So this is usually the halogen compounds are toxic for us human. The halogen compounds are usually toxic for us human. The second compound is chloroform. You have already seen it in movies. The villain use it, or sometimes the chloroform is being used. So chloroform is mainly a global anesthetic agent. It was used earlier as global anesthetic agent, that it can cause nervous system to slow down or sleep, and the human fall asleep. So the main use was general anesthetic, but being toxic, it has been replaced by ether and other less toxic anesthetic. If we talk about the third reaction, this is triiodomethane, or we can say iodoform. Iodoform was also earlier used as an antiseptic, but later it was discarded due to its antiseptic nature coming from iodine only. So we can use iodine separately. We don't need iodoform to have iodine. And iodoform had bad smell. So due to its bad smell and its antiseptic nature was coming only from I2 molecule. That's why it was also disregarded. Now this carbon tetrachloride, the common name for this is pyrene. Remember this common name, it has been asked several times. And the common use of pyrene is as fire extinguisher. And the second common use is it is used as a cleaning fluid. So as fire extinguisher, as cleaning fluid, these are the two common use of pyrene or carbon tetrachloride. The next reagent is freons. Freons are commonly known as chlorofluorocarbon, having the formula CFCl, X4 minus X. So freons are regarded as chlorofluorocarbon, which are a common coolant. And the most common freon is freon 12, CCl2F2. This is the most common used freon in refrigerators, AC, or other cooling devices. So these are the common useful coolants, but they cause depletion in ozone layer. And the last important compound is DDT. DDT is the first chlorinated insecticide. It was used earlier, but later its use was also discontinued due to its harmful effect on environment. We have to learn the structure of DDT. So DDT has this trichloroethane molecule. You are having trichloroethane, that is 2 carbon chain having 1,1,1 trichloro. And you are having here 2 phenyl ring having 1 chlorine at para position. 2 phenyl ring having 1 chloro at para position, and 1 hydrogen is for satisfying the valency of carbon. So the structure of DDT can be learned from its name. First you have to learn dichloro. This dichloro has DDT first D, then diphenyl, this is the second D, trichloro, this is the T of DDT, and ethane. So you can see the name here. Dichloro means 2 chlorine atom on the phenyl ring, diphenyl means 2 phenyl ring, and trichloroethane means the root structure is of 2 carbon chain having 3 chlorine atom. The IUPAC name is 1,1,1 trichloro 2,2,4 bis phenyl ethane. So this is the IUPAC name of DDT, and this is the common name of DDT. So the most important formula here is DDT, and you have to remember its structure. You have to remember its structure. So that's all for this chapter, beta. Hello alkanes and hello arenes. Hope you understood all the concept clearly. Organic chemistry, beta, needs a lot of attention, a lot of paperwork. Paperwork should be more than enough. You should at least write this chapter 2 or 3 times, and then you should only try the questions. The more question you practice, the more you think about the reaction, the more easier it will become. So we will meet again in the next topic, in the next session, and we will study some more interesting, some more useful chemistry for your board as well as your competitive exam. Till then, beta, have a good and safe life. Thank you.